falling in love is easy, relatively speaking, of course. It's staying in love that's the real test. Every great relationship eventually meets a moment where the question becomes, can we grow through this? In astrology, those moments belong to Venus and Saturn, the cosmic pair that teaches us about loyalty, responsibility, and our favorite, divine timing. So in this video, I'll be discussing Venus and Saturn in terms of not only in your natal chart, but in terms of synastry, so you can understand where love may be a little difficult, but where it can be long lasting. So if you want to know more, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. Y'all already know who I am. I'm Mel, founder of Divine Feminine Works, professional astrologer, sound therapist, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure many of you have been here before, so y'all know the deal. All right. And so in today's video, I will be talking all about Venus and Saturn. Now, relationships are not always roses and rainbows. We know this. And often when the rubber hits the road and we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, we're like, I don't get this. I don't understand. I don't want to do this anymore. However, oftentimes when we talk about difficulties and challenges in relationships, those are leveling up points. Now, when we talk about it in terms of your natal chart, this is where you can level up in terms of your relationship blueprint, right? Where you can sort of better yourself, where you can improve yourself, where you can build character in order to have better relationships. And in terms of synastry, this is when we experience things that are challenging, that are difficult, but that ultimately help us have not only more successful relationships, but more long lasting relationships. And that's honestly what people mostly want. We want relationships that are stable. Yes, there's times for drama. Sometimes we thrive on that drama. And I think that society kind of makes us thrive on drama. But ultimately, we want relationships to be a mainstay in our lives. And Venus and Saturn can tell us all about that. All right, so without further ado, let's jump right in. So, of course, to begin, I'd like you to think about and meditate on this core idea. Venus shows how you love, Saturn shows how you sustain love. Together, they reveal the lessons that turn attraction into devotion. I'm going to say that again. Together, they turn attraction into devotion. And don't we all want devotion? In astrology, Venus is pleasure, connection, and affection. It's what we want. Saturn is commitment, structure, and endurance. It's what we work for. When these two planets meet in your chart or between charts, like in synastry, love becomes a classroom. I mean, life is a classroom, but Venus and Saturn, they will really take you to school when it comes to relationships. All right, so let's begin by talking about the natal chart, okay? And this is the Saturn effect on love. So let's say in your natal chart you've got Venus conjunct Saturn. For you, love matures slowly but deeply. Loyalty is your love language. Dare I say that love is a very mature thing for you? You're willing to sort of take the long route. You're willing and perhaps ready to learn, especially when it comes to love. But commitment and loyalty are definitely your thing. All right, and just a reminder, this is just meant to scratch the surface. We're not going to enumerate everything because that would take probably 6 days. So these are just some examples of these two planets in your natal chart. All right. So let's say you've got Venus trine or sextile to Saturn. This denotes peace, harmony, and opportunity. All right. Stability and patience make relationships thrive for you. Now, let's say you've got Venus square or opposite to Saturn in your natal chart. There could be a fear of vulnerability, or there could be timing issues that delay fulfillment. But when love lands, it's built to last. Okay. Now, Saturn asks us a very important question. And that question is, Do you really mean it? This is where commitment comes in. And over the years, I have grown to absolutely love Saturn. Whether it's Saturn with Venus, whether it's Saturn with Jupiter, doesn't matter. Saturn asks you, do you really mean it? Whether it's within yourself, right? If we're talking about Saturn in your natal chart, or whether we're talking about as it relates to someone else via synastry. Do you mean what you say? Are you willing to commit? Are you serious? In my own life, that question has been that has been the question in relationships. Are you serious? Right? Because I'm at a stage in my life where I'm like, if you don't know, like not knowing is no. I don't know is no. Inconsistency, no. Saturn speaks to all of these things, but I love that because Saturn is really like, yo, are you serious? Do you mean it? Saturn slows things down so that what's real can take root. And that is important to remember because what is real, what is true, what is steady, what is stable takes time. Don't let society fool you. Pictures and matching pajamas, vacations, matching shoes, that shit don't mean shit. Okay? Because behind the scenes, these could be two people who hate each other. Or friends who are always going to brunch and always posting up and always, that don't mean anything. It's the hard times, the hard conversations, the challenges that build relationships. And because we have a society that wants to avoid pain at all costs, we have pain relievers for everything. We have a million and one distractions. Pain ultimately can lead to progress if you're willing to lean into it and not just sit there about and whine about being in pain. I'm talking about, okay, this pain is doing something. Think about weight training, right? Especially when you're lifting heavy weights. It's painful. It actually tears the muscle. It injures the muscle so that it can grow back stronger. I want you to think about that in terms of relationships. Now, I'm not saying that you need to seek out dysfunction, chaos, drama, but those are a part of life, right? And if you look at it as what is this trying to teach me, or what is this trying to teach us? How can we use this to get to the next level to overcome this, right? More importantly, and I was having this conversation with my cousin last night, I was talking about how when you think, and I'm about to go on a tangent, so indulge me, please. We want long lasting relationships. Now, crazy enough as it is, I've seen quite a bit of content of people talking about, oh, your grandma was married to your grandpa for 40 years, but she was miserable and whatever. Now, that can be true. I'm not going to discount that. But at the very essence of it, so many of us just want stable, long lasting relationships. Yes, it can be fun to date and, do whatever you do out there, right? No judgment. But essentially, we want that area of our lives to be stable. And imagine being with somebody for 30, 40, 50 plus years. You don't think that there's going to be issues. You don't think that there's going to be problems. You don't think there's going to be things that happen that you feel either break you, break them, or break the relationship. Those things are par for the course. Those things are going to happen. Those things are inevitable. But like I explained to her, I was saying, listen, if y'all are in the same car, meaning in the same relationship, y'all have to decide on the same destination. I can't want to go to California. You want to go to Missouri, and we get in the same car. We're going to end up going nowhere, and neither of us are going to get to where we actually want to be. But if we have the same destination and we remember that, that's like going on a road trip from New York to California, right? You may get a flat tire. You may have to take a detour. You may run out of gas. You may get bored, right? There's so many things that can delay or challenge your ability to go from point A to point B. But if you say at the end of the day, we are getting to LA, we are getting to California, this is the destination, then you're willing to work through those things. You get a flat tire, you're not just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go back to New York. Maybe you are. Maybe that happens sometimes, right? But if that destination is really where you want to go and both of you really want to go there, you're going to say, okay, how do we fix this flat tire? Do we have to call someone? Do we have to call AAA? Do we have to purchase a new tire? You do that, you fix it, and then you keep going on your road trip, right? Saturn shows that within ourselves and within our relationships. So it's important to not shy away from the things that are difficult. Yes, there are going to be some things that are breaking points. There are going to be things that happen that are hard lines in the sand where you say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's perfectly fine. But allow Saturn to inform you how you learn these lessons. Maybe even what lessons you are here to learn. And allow Saturn to inform you how you can overcome obstacles in your relationships so that you're not just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're actually working, you're actually growing, and you actually reach the destination that the two of you want to reach. All right. That's my soapbox, and I'm getting off it right now. All right. So let's keep it moving. All right. So in synastry, let's talk about lessons between two people. All right. So when one person's Saturn touches another person's Venus, there's an undeniable bond, but also a sense of weight. It has the potential to feel faded, karmic, or even restrictive at times. Now don't be fooled. If you watch a lot of spiritual YouTube, a lot of twin flame videos, a lot of tarot readings, people will make you think that karmic means bad. Karmic doesn't mean bad. Karmic is just like another word for a pattern. That pattern could be good, it could be toxic, right? But it's just a pattern. It's just something that has repeated itself. And so when you have this synastry with someone, this Venus and Saturn synastry, it can feel very grounded, but it could also feel heavy. It could feel like there's a lot of responsibility or even obligation to that person or to that relationship, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just the nature of the relationship. All right. Often one person becomes the teacher while the other learns about patience, responsibility, or boundaries, right? And it could be both of them are teachers and students together for each other. All right. These are the connections that demand maturity. But if both stay present, they can outlast almost anything. So if you are willing to learn and willing to teach, because oftentimes, right, like let's take for instance boundaries. Boundaries can be hard to accept, they can also be hard to implement. But if both of you are willing to learn with each other and teach each other, that's what makes relationships last. It's not about perfection. It's not about having the perfect relationship with no flaws, with no drama, with no situations. It's about how you traverse those things. And again, if you've got Venus and Saturn synastry with someone, you are definitely going to go through those things. And your synastry chart can tell you how to go through them. That's the beauty of astrology. All right. So now let's talk about this by house. Okay. And this is where love learns how to last. So this could be your Venus or Saturn placement in a particular house in your natal chart. It could also be a particular Venus and Saturn placement in your synastry chart, whether it's the planet itself, whether it's an aspect to a planet, where it's an aspect to that house ruler. And if that went over your head, I've got some free resources in the description box below to get you up to speed. All right. But let's talk about Venus, Saturn, and the fourth house. All right. This is commitment through emotional safety. Fourth house is your headquarters. Fourth house is home. Providing a safe and emotional home through commitment is definitely something that could be a part of your energy signature or your relationship's energy signature. Now, fifth house. This is loyalty through creative expression and joy. Okay. This is committing in a way to joy, to fun. You know how they talk about when you've been together for a while and maybe you stopped dating each other? Venus and Saturn, as it pertains to the fifth house, that could be a commitment to continue dating each other, commitment to having fun. That's definitely an important component of any relationship. Moving on, we get to the seventh house. And here, partnership is a sacred contract. Contracts are binding. Seventh house covers binding and contracts. Okay. And when you've got Venus and Saturn, either natally or synastry wise, here, there's a commitment to the obligation of partnership. There's a commitment to the contractual obligations of partnership. And then finally, 10th house. This is public devotion, a shared legacy, and building a life together. That 10th house energy lends itself to public, being seen, and building, particularly a legacy. And so, if you have this natally or you experience this synastry wise, that's definitely a part of your relationship energetic signature. Okay. Venus and Saturn teach that real love isn't about perfection, it's about endurance. I think that oftentimes we think of relationship in such short-term ways that when we do encounter issues and problems, we're willing to throw in the towel and throw it out, right? We live in a very fast microwave society. We do that with a lot of things, right? But again, it's really antithetical to our human nature, I think. Yes, there is a time for excitement. But most often, especially because don't get it twisted, life can be really long. Yes, life is short, and when people say that, I think they mean that it can end in an instant, and that is true. But especially if you live to your 80s, 90s, and beyond, yo, life is long as hell. And endurance is a thing. It's not life isn't always just a series of short little things. It's a bigger picture. Now you can look at life however the fuck you want to look at it. You can look at it as short little spurts of things. But then when you take a step back and you look at the full picture, it is really about endurance. It's about staying power. And relationships are very much evidence of that. Okay? And so when you learn their rhythm, you stop chasing quick fixes and you start building timeless bonds because again, ultimately that's what we want. We don't want someone that's here today and gone tomorrow. Someone that's here in our life and then we no longer speak to them. Although that is the nature of life, that does happen. But for the relationships that we really want, we need to practice endurance. We need to teach, we need to learn, we need to grow, we need to build. All right, so now let's pause here for a moment of reflection and self inquiry. So here's your reflection for today. What has Saturn taught you about love, patience, timing, boundaries, or resilience? Understand that the universe never withholds love, it just withholds what isn't ready. Remember, Saturn is the planet of maturation, the planet of maturity. So if something is not happening, if something is delayed, it's not a no, it's perhaps not right now. What do I need to learn? Who do I need to become for it to be ready for me or for me to be ready for it? So think about that, reflect on that, and journal on that today. Of course, if you're more curious about how you show up in relationships and your relationship style, then take the free seduction style quiz. It's cute. fun little quiz that you can take, and you also get an accompanying PDF guide that really helps you understand your seduction style and your romantic style, or your relationship style, I should say. All right. And the link is in the description box below. And if you're ready to start reading your chart with confidence, then join the waitlist for my self paced course, Charted. That's where I teach you how to interpret transits, aspects, and your love patterns like a pro. All right. I'll be launching that very soon in the near future. If you're interested in joining the waitlist so you know when that drops, the link to that will be in the description box below as well. And of course, you can always hang out with me in Cosmic Collective, my online private community, where we explore real life relationship astrology every week during Cosmic Chemistry Fridays. We do a deeper dive into the week's topics, I do a case study. Plus, you get to ask as many questions as you like. So, if you're interested, you can either scan the QR code on the screen or you can hit the link in the description box below. All right. I definitely hope to see you in there this week. All right, my loves, that's pretty much all I've got for you for this video on Venus and Saturn and what they can show you about loyalty, commitment, and timing. All right. So join me tomorrow where we'll discuss Venus and Neptune and what they have to say about, wait for it, soulmates. You definitely don't want to miss that one. So, like, subscribe, share, set notifications, and yeah, let's keep this party going. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.